All right. Welcome back, or welcome, firstly, to my mastering guide. This is going to be a hopefully short video. It might take like an hour to explain everything. I'm going to try to break it up into chunks at a later date, but for right now, I'm just going through everything. I'm going to be talking a little bit quickly to kind of catch up. I had to restart the video due to a significant audio issue. But anyways, my name is John Reynolds. I go by John John. You can find me online everywhere at Johnjohnfm. But yeah, so the first thing we're gonna do, I'm just gonna play through this file for a little bit. So this, I just call this track Yak Track for right now. Everything's pretty much done. This isn't stemmed out, so nothing's consolidated yet, but everything's good to go. All my tracks are frozen right now except for like two, which is fine. I needed to do that for CPU. Yeah, so you get the point. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to find a loud part. And hey, since I did this earlier, I already know which I'm going to use. So we're going to use this breakdown right here. Or this break, I should say. Because it has a sub drop and an impact and a lead in, all sorts of cool stuff. It's when all the guitars come in and all the instruments are having fun together. But I'm gonna start it a little bit before that, just to get the dynamic change. Cool. Make sure you're saving along the way. So the very first thing I'm going to do, and you don't have to do it this way, you could start with a bus compressor, but I usually start with EQ. Why? Because it's logical. And what I do, I first start with a high pass filter on the bottom end, or a low cut you call it, and I do that at 30 hertz. You can start it at 40 or 50 hertz. That works. A lot of speakers cut off at around 40 or 50 hertz, so that's a good way or good place to cut off your audio. Then I'm gonna cut down 20,000 hertz too, and the reason I do this is to give myself a little bit more headroom to work with. You don't want all that low end mud building up here from your mix, and this is how much we're taking away here, as you can see, quite a bit. Now my slope is at 6 decibels per octave. You can tighten it up a little bit with maybe 12 decibels if you have that option. I think that's going to be like too limiting for this mix, so I'm going to keep it at 6. Oh yes, you also have your auto gain function. I'm going to leave that off for now because I don't need it to be louder. And it turns it up a little bit. I mean, it's the perceived loudness that it turns up. Basically, when you make a move, when you take something away, it'll add volume, add gain to the source signal. So I'll leave that off for right now. Because as you could see, I clipped just once, and it was a very small amount, so that'll probably fix it. The next thing we're going to do, I'm going to use Curves Equator. You could use Soothe too. This is my own personal technique that I came up with myself. And this is to basically flatten the mix. And I'm just going to reset this the plugin so I can show you how this works. So you have your learn function. This is kind of like Isotope Ozone, if you've ever used that. It just listens to the audio and then it'll apply a wave curve to the plugin. So I'll find that area that we were talking about. which is right here. We're already there. So since this starts with a sub drop, and I don't really want that in here, I don't want it to learn the sub drop, so I'm gonna start it about right here. But I'll do that and hit learn, and you'll see what it does. And then for this part, I usually wait until it's about right here. Cool. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna hit this circle, and this basically, if you were watching, there's this blue area up here, this blue wave curve or amplitude curve. This is the reduction. This is how much it's reducing. So if I turn this way down, that's a lot of reduction. And you can see the audio is much quieter too without that auto makeup on. We don't want to do that though. I'm actually going to set it to 0 because I believe that means it is flat. I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, correct me, because I want it flat. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to make sure the limiter is off, because we can't have a limiter before a limiter. It's not how audio works. So this is clipping in here. I don't know why. The next thing we're going to do after that is we're going to adjust the shape. And you have options. You can go with the pink curve. You can go with the warm curve, or you can go with the flat curve. I'm gonna go with the flat curve, and then we're just gonna, I'll show you what this looks like here. So there's the flat curve, there's the pink curve, there's the warm curve, and back to flat. Now I don't want it all the way flat, so I'm just gonna set it at like 50%, maybe even less than that, maybe 30%. Cool. And then we have a sensitivity over here. Yeah, sensitivity and precision. I'll start with precision. So I want this to be as precise as possible, so I'm just gonna crank it to 100. Now you can see the waveform is tighter. Now sensitivity works to the total reduction too, so the more you crank the sensitivity, the more you're going to turn it up. We'll turn that to 30 as well. That's a nice place I found. Attack, I usually like the attack to be around 10 milliseconds and the release to be around 30. And looks like that is Waves Equator. It does have a sidechain. You can use that really creatively, like Track Spacer, if you want, I believe. So that's really cool. That's a really cool feature I haven't tried out yet. I'll have to try that out and let you know what I think about it. It also has 3 different bands, I believe. Yeah. Or 4 different bands. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can raise and lower the gain of these channels too. I never do it, but you can. Alright. Clear that. So we're not actually clipping. And sometimes in Pro Tools, when you hit play, it'll clip right away. So you gotta be careful for that. So the next thing I'm gonna show you, and like I said, I've already gone through this in a previous video. So I'm just gonna kind of move really quickly through it. I'm gonna show you bus compression. That'll be your next step. And I have 3 different bus compressors that I use. The first one that I love is the SSL Bus Compressor 2. I'll show you that real quick. Normally doesn't take this long, but running OBS takes quite a bit of power, so we'll see if she works. Here we go. Alright, so this is Bus Compressor 2. Again, it's made by SSL. They are probably the best plugin makers in the world, if I'm being honest. So with this, I'll just run through it quickly. I'm just going to go about 4 to 5 decibels of gain reduction. So I'll show you what that looks like. And all my settings are saved here. Really quickly, a ratio of 2 to 1 is what I usually use. You can go a little bit higher than that if you want. I don't like it. I think it sounds ugly. My attack is set to 10 milliseconds. The release is auto. I don't have a sidechain. The mix is all the way up. So all that means is turning down the threshold, adjusting the makeup, and then making sure that our oversampling is turned up all the way, because it is a master. So there we go. Now we just turn it up. Compensate for what we've lost. Oops, and we're overloading our stuff here. Cool, so that's Bus Compressor 1. And I suppose I should be going from worst to best, but I'm going from best to worst. And I shouldn't really say best to worst, because I think they're all great compressors. I suppose it's what I use mostly to what I use the least. The next one I'm going to show you is actually the last one I was going to show you, which is, and I forgot the name of it again. Impact, I think. Yeah. So this is based off of the SSL, and it's the same exact thing. We're just gonna do a ratio of 2 to 1. We'll boost this up to 10 milliseconds, and turn this to auto. No side chain. This is our makeup gain, and yeah, so we just adjust the threshold to taste, which for me is around 4 to 5 decibels of gain reduction, and you'll see that right here. Now we're going to compensate with our makeup gain. See how much flatter that is? Pretty cool. So I decided in the last video that I'm going to keep this compressor for this master, but I have one more to show you, and that is one of my favorites. I don't use it all the time. Sometimes I use the SSL, but it's about 50-50 between the SSL and this compressor. And this wonderful compressor is called Joey Sturgis Bus Glue Mix. It's a plugin, a compression plugin by Joey Sturgis. Set it to default settings. Yeah, it has tons of options. The first thing I'm going to show you is the threshold, which is this little screw here. It's hard to see, but if you click right below the BU meter, you have a little screw. Find the little screw. It's kind of hard to find, kind of hard to see, but it's set at negative 38 decibels, which is fine. Joey usually he created the negative 3.5 to 5 decibel range rule for mixes, which it works really well, and that's kind of probably what this threshold is based off of, so it works. I could probably raise it a little bit because my mix is a little bit louder, but that doesn't really matter for this video. So right off the bat, I'm going to talk about this control right here. It adds a little harmonic saturation to the low end. I personally can't really hear it, but I leave it on. I've been leaving it on lately. So that's that. You have this knob up here. These are your four main options for compression. It starts at least amount of compression to the most amount of compression. Yeah, so all we're going to do is we're going to just hit play. We'll start at the least amount of compression and we'll just add compression. Just like that. So there is something happening here, but I don't really hear it too much. So I have this cranked all the way up, so I'm just going to turn this knob and I'll show you how aggressive it can get. So yeah, that's that. You can go through it and figure out what you like for your sound. I like my kicks to be thick and pumping. I like the speakers to be pumping. I don't like everything squashed. I do like dynamic masters. So that's kind of the end that I try to aim for. The last final thing I'm going to show you is this output knob and the clipper. This is very uncommon, but this plugin comes with a clipper built in. And I'll show you how that works real quick, but one side note is this output knob is here primarily for gain staging. So make sure that you're gain staging and you're compensating for the gain that you're losing with compression. So since I lost gain with this added compression here, and you can hear it, I'll show you. So this is with the compression, this is without it. Very big difference. It's about 2 decibels. So we can just turn this up. Oh, maybe it's 3. Yeah. About 3 decibels. Cool. So that's that. I'll reset that. And so the way the clipper works is you can crank this output knob pretty much all the way up, and you're not going to clip your meters. And you can watch my meter right here on the master track. I'll highlight that for you. It's these little 2 bars here. If those go red, it means I'm clipping. It's also on the transport control right over here. If these 2 little bars go red at the top, if they flare up, that means I'm clipping. So I'll just show you this. If I turn it all the way up, you'll see that there is absolutely no clipping with the clipper on. Now that's pretty cool. And the reason it's cool is because you can use this completely for your master. I showed you Curbs Equator. You don't necessarily need something like this. I think it's a great tool to have. I think it makes my masters better. It makes them louder. In the end, you should probably have EQ like this, but you don't necessarily need it. If you're just trying to put something out quick, just doing some test masters, just throw bus glue on it and crank it, throw the clipper on there, do your thing. And it gets pretty loud too, I'll show you. So weird. Yeah, so that's what happened earlier. That's why I had to end my session. I gotta make sure that my audio is still working here. I believe it is. Yeah, we good. So now I gotta make sure we're still recording. I think we're still recording. Yeah, we're still recording. Cool. I'm gonna cut all this out later, but so we're running live right now. It's just so you know. But yeah, the cool thing about this bus glue is you can use it as an end-all be-all, and I'll show you how loud it gets here. With it, it's so remember that it's cranked all the way up right now. As you can see. And I'll open Uline loudness meter. Clear that, and all we gotta do is hit play. So yeah, we're at about 6.5 LUFS. Not bad. Pretty freaking loud, actually. And it sounds good. It sounds like my mix. That's all there is to it. So for this master, since we're doing things crazily, I'm going to use this bus compressor that I decided on the last time I shot this video. I really like the sound of it. It's very punchy, very aggressive. There's a tiny bit of saturation there. Yeah, so the next thing we're going to do, I guess I'll just show you this step right away. And you don't have to do this. You don't have to do it every time. You should do it with the SSL bus compressor and sometimes with Joey's compressor. But add a multiband compressor after it. And I'm just going to do this really quickly. I usually just go straight to a mastering preset. And I like to use the electro mastering preset because it's the electro compressor behavior setting. It can act like an opto or an electro compressor. I use the electro compressor behavior because it's faster, and I'll show you the difference right now. So this is the electro, and this is the opto. Electro, opto. So yeah, we'll just keep it at electro. I'm gonna disable all these bands because I really only want to compress the low end because that's our worry area. We don't want that being too overbearing and blowing out speakers. So yeah, cool. We can either, I probably won't keep that on this mix. Yeah, we'll bypass it for now. But just pretend that it's on there. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to use harmonic saturation. And this I like to use for tone shaping, kind of like EQ. But the first one I'm going to try out is JST Heat. And the one I'm going to end with is probably Oxford Inflator, because it's a new plugin that I got and I kind of like it. And it's quick to use, quick and easy. If JST Heat loads. Okay, I gotta get back to this video. Okay, so we have JST Heat up and running. I'm gonna assume you're familiar with this plugin, so I'm just gonna kind of breeze through it. Just make sure when you get done with it that you have oversampling turned all the way up, because this is a master. For now, to save computer resources, I'm going to turn it off completely. But at the end of this, we're going to make sure oversampling is turned on for absolutely everything. Okay, cool. So that's what I'll keep with that, as you saw, and make sure that you turn up oversampling. I'll do it later, but I'll leave it off for now so my computer doesn't blow up. You have some other options down here. I wouldn't necessarily use these. Yeah, that's about all I'm gonna do for this, but maybe turn that up to 30, because you are buying back some gain there, but yeah, 30 and 18K sounds good to me. You don't have to do that, you can just keep that up all the way. Yeah, as you can see, I turn this down. When you are working on a master, deal in whole decibels. Don't do fractions of decibels. Don't even do half of decibels. Deal in whole decibels, otherwise you're going to end up with a lot of headaches. Most likely when you're gain staging, you're going to end up with, fractions of decibels, but in reality, you can just get to the nearest whole decibel and you'll be fine. Remember that JST Heat has different distortion options. Those can be read right here. You can change them by these little knobs right here, but that'll change your sound. So yeah, a lot of options. I heard one in here that I liked a lot. It was Overload, I think. Yeah, nice and punchy, but it is overloading my meters, so we're gonna have to turn this down, probably -7. So I'll keep that. Make sure that you have this whole thing figured out. You also have it up here. Those are some very important parts of JST Heat. So now that we have that figured out, I'm just gonna flip up Oxford Inflator. A lot of people use Oxford Inflator. I just bought it a couple months ago, but I've been trying to use it in all my masters. You could probably use it on drums. I would use it on drums to inflate the drums. If you have JST Maximizer, which a lot more people are buying, it has an inflator in it. I don't like Joy's inflator at all. I think it sounds like garbage compared to the real thing. Actually, I think it sounds like garbage, period. But yeah, all you do is turn up the effect, if it'll let me. Oh, there we go. It's frozen. Holy shit. Okay. Cool. And you can turn all. So I'm not gonna explain this plugin, except just one or a couple minor details. But this plugin explains itself. So make sure that you read through and understand fully what it's actually doing. Yeah. And for this, for the master, unless this is like at the end of your master, make sure that you have the clipper off. I like to have the band split on and make sure it's turned on. Finally, make sure you're gain staging. So since I have this cranked quite a ways, it's, I'm probably doing 2 decibels that I need to reduce. It's more like 3.5, but we'll say 4. Oops. Sweet. Yeah, inflation and saturation are a lot alike. They work a lot alike. Saturation is a little bit more round. Inflation is a type of saturation. I'm not entirely sure how it works, but I will. Yeah, so I guess the next thing on our chain is imaging. And I have a few different imagers that I like to use. I have, well, I guess, yeah, I do have quite a few. So the first one I'll show you is one of my favorites, probably my favorite. And this is just the free version of it. The full version is like $110, but this is a fantastic plugin. It has a very, very wide range. You have gain staging controls down at the bottom here because it does add a little bit of gain, like most of them. My favorite part of this plugin is that it has a Haas effect. If you don't know what that means, look it up. It's very useful, especially when mastering, but be careful with it. I prefer mid-side for mastering, but now it's very easy to go overboard with stereo width, so be careful. Use your ears first and foremost. And, usually when you're doing panning and stuff like that, you're going to want to do it in headphones. I prefer doing stereo spreads on monitors, which is what I'm doing right now. If you need some good headphones, definitely check out Beyerdynamics. I have the DT990 Pros, and they work really, really well for mixing. Haven't tried them so much for mastering, but they work for mixing. And they're pretty good to reference masters on. This is the original side widener. I do not like, and this is another Joey Sturgis plugin. I don't really like it. I'll show you the new version too, actually. I'll open that up here. Bippity boppity boo. Side widener, I choose you. I should never sing. So this is, oh hey, oh, cool. It's actually, usually this stuff doesn't pull up. But, yeah, so these are the side wideners. Doesn't matter what you have, they both kind of do the same thing. This one's a little bit nicer, and it sounds a little bit better too. This one is kind of the first one is kind of hard to figure out, so you really have to listen to it. I like the first one better so far, but I'm getting used to the second one. The second one has a really nice display. You have different ways of looking at your audio in it. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, I'm just gonna show you the first one. So I don't really like to use side widener on my masters because I don't think it sounds good. Like, it works, but to me it kind of sounds like a tin can, so I don't really like it. Now my favorite stereo width tool of all time, because it sounds the absolute best, is the SSL Fusion stereo imager. Now this plugin is very expensive. It's like $200 or $300, but you can get it on sale for like 30 or 40. So if you ever see an SSL sale going on, definitely see if it's on sale because it's worth the money. It's worth every single penny. And here it is. Yeah, so just really quickly, this is SSL's plugin version of their own hardware unit called the Fusion. It's a really cool rack mount unit. You should definitely look it up. It's for mastering. They have an EQ, they have compression, they have saturation, they have this stereo imaging all built into it. I can't remember. It's either like $1,500 or like $3,000. It's not too bad though for a full on SSL unit though for mastering. Definitely worth checking out. So this kind of works in the same way. And I'll kind of show you this, again, don't get carried away with it, but I'll just go through this really quickly and we'll see how it goes. So I like it about right there. This space knob does exactly what it says. What it does is it kind of raises the lower end of things, and I'll show you how that sounds right here. What this little button does is it separates the middle from the sides, so you can hear just the sides. Sounds kind of wonky, but you can figure out what you're listening to. See how the low end comes up? Now I don't usually have it this high, but for trial and error's sake, we're gonna have it that high. So that is stereo imaging, and that's what I'm going with. We're going with the SSL Fusion Imager. And shuffle, I'm not going to explain this. You're going to have to check it out later. It does change the sound of it, so you got to be careful with that. Yeah, next thing we're going to move on to is loudness. And that's kind of a lengthy subject, but I'm going to hit it really hard, really quick. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to use a combination of clippers and limiters. I have a bunch of different clippers that I've been trying out, but the best one that I've found so far, and this should be a no-brainer for you guys to guess, it is JST clip, and let's see if I can find it here. Here we go. So it's kind of a stupid looking plugin, big old knob in the middle, but it works wonders. And yeah, so I'm just gonna go for it again. Usually I'll just turn this directly up to 2 times. What it does is it doubles the amount that you're turning up here. So instead of for every one, it's going to. Yeah, so there what I just did, we're using the rollback effect. So you turn it up all the way until you hear distortion, and then you just slowly roll it back until you hear no distortion. And good practice, just set that at 99. It also has a trim knob, which I don't really need. You do need to use it sometimes. Yeah, the power button glows, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's it. It's a very straightforward plugin. And actually, I'm going to use 2 of these just to make it a little bit louder, because you can get it kind of cleaner. I'll reset this. Turn that to 99. The reason I'm turning it to 99 is that because I'm going to end up with a limiter. But anyway, so make sure the thing is turned on if it's not. And we're going to actually use it on, instead of the doubling it, we're just going to do it in single mode. All right, so that's a good spot to have it at. We can check our. I mean, you could end it there theoretically, with just clippers. The one thing I found though is that with JST clip, there are digital overs, so you got to watch out for that, and that's why I'm ending with a limiter. And we're overloading our stuff here. Try this again. Okay, so I think that's way too fucking loud. I don't need it to be 3.6 LUFS. There we go. So we'll just use the one clipper then. Alright, so yeah, and as you can see, we're peaking over 0 decibels. So we're gonna fix that with L1 limiter by Dan Corneff, my favorite limiter in the world. And I'll show you why it's my favorite too. My computer's going really slowly right now, so bear with me. Yeah, so that's Super Bowl. What do you guys think of that? Kendrick Lamar, huh? I don't know, man. Crazy stuff. Again, I'm going to cut this all out in when I upload it, just so you know. Maybe. I might just leave it in there for sake of comedy, but it's taking a lot longer than normal. My computer doesn't normally go this slow. I would have a massive headache if it did. Yeah, I'm going to turn off the metering, because it does take some power to do that. Okay, so L1. I'm just going to reset to factory defaults. And this has a ton of options. I'll go through the first side of options with you real quick. And I'm just going to go through this really quickly because I do this all the time. I'm just going to, auto works fine. Just use auto. Keep the stereo link on unless you want to get crazy with your stuff. Keep the stereo link on. Make sure you know what you're doing too. If you don't, there's a guide right here. And it's a pretty good guide too. It tells you that there's a back panel, which I'll show you in a minute because I didn't know that before I opened up the guide. And when I found it, I found a hell of a lot more stuff to work with, which is really cool. Yeah, so we'll just play this. Now, I don't want, you have your meters over here. I don't want any gain reduction. I just want a ceiling. So if there are any overs, it'll hit the ceiling and be reduced. So for the ceiling, we'll just set it to, I don't know, negative 0.1 decibels. That's pretty common. You can set it to negative 1 decibels if you're a fancy mastering engineer. It gives the streaming services some good headroom to work with when they're normalizing. It also improves the quality of your final product, just so you know. Alright, so that's good enough for me. Our threshold is literally negative 0.8. Now, if you're not using a clipper, and I'll show you what that looks like. You're going to want to bring this threshold down quite a bit for loudness. Yeah, I'd usually end it at, around negative 4 decibels. But what did we say here? We said negative 0.8, right? Yeah, so we'll go with that. Negative 0.8, and we're set. Now we have a bunch of options for tonality on the back. And to get to the back, all you got to do is touch Corneff's last name, Dan's last name. Yeah, so you have some tone shaping here to work with, and you have some more tone shaping over here. You can have it bypassed. I love this so much because you have additional flavors to mastering to work with. And I'll show you what they sound like. So we'll start with the input shape. And I'll just move through them so you can hear what they sound like. Very cool. Let's do that. Let's go with punchy. And then we have tone. I like that. I'm gonna go with presence again. I like presence. Some might argue. I might do both of them. I might just bounce both of them because I don't know. I like them both. But I'll go with presence for right now. I'll turn dithering on because that's what I do. I'll make sure it's in 24 because I'm bouncing at 24. And then again, you're gonna want to make sure your oversampling's on. So I'll turn that up all the way. And then did we have anything else that had oversampling? Stereo imaging, no. Oh, we got to turn the clipping on. I forgot. So I got to redo this real quick. And I'll cut this out in the video and stitch it all together and make it really cool. But, oh, I don't even have to adjust anything. I just have to turn the clipper on. Okay, cool. So, I don't like that punchy anymore. I like it with the clipper off, but I don't like it with the clipper on. There's too much aggression when the clipper's on. Okay, and these, my computer's going really slow because we have this cranked all the way. So these aren't lighting up real quick, but... And also, for some reason, it says we're clipping. We're not clipping. It says we're clipping. I don't know why it says that, but we're not. We literally have clippers on here, and we have this limiter on here, the ceiling set, so we're good. Sometimes Pro Tools is just Pro Tools. We're not clipping, so we're good. Yeah. So we'll leave that on presence. We'll turn this oversampling up. And I'm just gonna go JST EQ, no. Curves equator, no. Impact, no. Oxford inflator, no. Stereo imaging, no. JST clip, no. So the only thing that we're oversampling is Elmon, which oversamples the whole track. And whenever you have a plugin with oversampling that you're using on mastering, do use it. It better processes the audio. Yeah, so that's about it. I'm just gonna bounce this out, and I guess I'll just go through that real quickly too. Bippity boppity boo. So this will be my third bounce of this song. I'll make sure to note what kind of master it is. I'm just tagging it with presence. It's my third bounce of this song. You're going to want to make sure that you're in at least 24-bit unless you're printing for CD. If you're printing for CD, make sure it's in 16 because that's the maximum, the physical maximum that compact disc can have on it is 16-bit audio. Yeah, but for streaming services and stuff, you want it a little bit higher res, so 24-bit works. We're not quite at 32-bit float yet, but we'll get there. Not like it really matters too much, but if you want to read about it, it's very scientific. You could bounce this in 48 if you want to. I don't recommend it. I just bounce to the very final version of what you need. If you're bouncing for 48, you're probably bouncing for video. Some streaming services take 48, but most are still at 44.1. So just bounce to 44.1 if it's for online delivery. Yeah, next I just save it to my downloads and hit bounce. And this will just do an offline bounce. It's going pretty quick because I don't have a whole lot of plugins here, but yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Song's not released yet. I'm not sure when it will be, but definitely check that out when it comes out. Deuces.